All right. So, first off, welcome everybody. I'm glad that you're here. And for this topic, we will actually be discussing winter driving safety and how to stay safe out on the roads. We'll talk about the numbers and trends that we see when it comes to winter driving. Real life examples will be brought up in order to try to learn from the mistakes of others. We hope that when the snow flies, the roads get slick, you don't end up losing control of your vehicle and or end up in a ditch or playing bumper cars with other vehicles, or even hitting a patrol car on the side of the road, which, yeah, it does happen quite a bit, actually. And the end goal is that when we get out there, we're going to be driving safe with no issues. We're happy to have our presenter, Sergeant Lawrence Hopper with the Highway Patrol. He's been with the patrol for over 17 years. He spent his first 6 years assigned to the Salt Lake County area. How he made it through a winter without getting his patrol car hit. Oh, wait, it definitely was hit, and we'll discuss that later throughout. He transferred to the Salt Lake Community College for 2 years. After that, there were many times when he was called away from the campus to help with winter storms and crashes that followed. And after the college, he transferred to the Utah Highways Safety Office, where he was a law enforcement liaison for the state of Utah. He worked with all 130 law enforcement agencies in the state of Utah, helping them improve safety on their highways, especially in the wintertime, trying to send the message out to all drivers to slow down. He promoted to sergeant in February of 2018 and was assigned to the Rio Grande project in downtown Salt Lake. While dealing with snowstorms is not the priority with the assignment, there were still plenty of crashes from the snowstorms that he handled. In March of 2020, he transferred back to Salt Lake County, where the snowstorm crashes continue. Utah Highway Patrol has awarded him multiple citations, multiple accommodations, and the Distinguished Service Medal. In 2019, he was a recipient of the Instructor of the Year Award here from the National Safety Council. He lives in Grantsville, Utah, with his wife and 3 kids and enjoys playing the bagpipes. However, sadly, we will not have him do a live bagpipe performance. He'll mainly be discussing highway safety and winter driving. So with that said, Lawrence, feel free to take it away.
All right. So let's see if we can get this correct. So screen 1, actually that's what I want. Okay. I'm just going to play this video and I'm going to ask a quick question. Who is ready for this? I can't see you raise your hand, but I'm assuming there may not be too many hands that are raised, because whether you're ready or not, this is coming. And if you look on the weather, I'm going to play it a couple more times while I chat. If you look on the weather for tomorrow, actually, the snow is going to be falling tomorrow, sometime during the afternoon. And half of the job when it comes to driving in winter weather is done prior to the snow falling. So you need to prepare yourself before the snow even falls. That being said, let's just talk about it, actually. Let's talk about how to prepare yourself for when the snow falls. I got a list here of things that you should do to prepare yourself, especially preparing your vehicle for when you're going to be driving on wet roads or snow-covered roads. The first thing I can tell you to do to prepare is to get good tires. Check your tire depth. Check the tread on your tires. If they're bald and they look like they belong on the Indy 500 rather than on I-15 here in Utah, you should probably get new tires. A good way to check to see if you have good enough tread is by putting a penny underneath the tread, or putting a penny down into the tread, excuse me. And if you can see Abraham Lincoln's head, you probably need to get new tires. Also, make sure that those tires are inflated to the correct PSI amount. Underinflated tires or overinflated tires will cause you to lose grip of the vehicle or grip of the road, which means when you're trying to turn or slow down, it will not be as effective as you want it to be if you had tires that were fully pressured. Another thing you want to check is your windshield wipers. How many of you have those windshield wipers that screech as they go? Reed, 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 reed. If that happens, you should probably get new windshield wipers. How many of you have windshield wipers where only half of it works? And I've seen this, true story. The passenger side works, but the driver's side doesn't. And I've seen people with their hand outside of their window wiping snow off as they go. Probably you want to get your windshield wipers checked and make sure that they're working correctly. Another thing that a lot of people don't think about is their headlights. When they're washing their windshield off, they don't bother with their headlights, but you lose about 60% of your light with dirty headlights. So when you're at the gas station and cleaning up your windshield, go to your headlights as well. Clean those off, make sure that those are visible for others. And then also that you can see the hazards that are on the road late at night. Something to think about to wash your headlights as well. I'd also recommend, I'm going to go to my list here, make sure that you have a full tank of gas. Obviously, if you get into a crash during the winter time, you're going to want to have at least a full tank of gas to where if you're going to be there for a bit, you can still keep that engine running, try and stay warm. In the highway patrol, we are going to do the best we can to get to you as quickly as we can. But unfortunately, there are times when serious crashes take priorities over non-serious crashes. If we have serious injuries, obviously we have to focus on those crashes, which means minor fender benders might take some time for us to get to you. It's nothing personal, but you can understand that. I mean, if you were in a serious crash, you would want us to go take care of your crash before we take care of a simple fender bender. So you don't know how long you're going to be there with the crash. And so make sure that you keep a full tank of gas as often as possible, especially when there's a storm coming. We all know that there's one coming tomorrow, so I'm going to expect all of you to go to the gas station tonight, gas up so that you have a full tank just in case something happens. Next thing you want to do is be prepared with supplies. Just a list of supplies that I quickly wrote down here. I have a flashlight. Late at night, if you get into a crash and your headlights no longer work, and because they got busted out or whatever, it's good to have a flashlight. For me, when I'm on patrol and it's late at night, I always have that flashlight on. And if I'm walking away from traffic, or with traffic, I should say, I always have that flashlight behind me, and I'm always wiggling it, for lack of a better term, because that hopefully will get drivers' attention. Oh, hey, there's something going on. I better move over. And we'll talk about move over law in a bit here. Have a tow strap. Always good to have a tow strap in case you get into a ditch. Maybe someone will be able to pull over, pull you out. Have a tow strap. Probably the most important one is an ice scraper. How in the world are you going to be able to drive and see outside your windshield if there's ice on the windshield? And how many of you have seen people driving down the road with that little hole that they've scraped up in the upper driver's side corner, and they're driving like this, trying to see through there? Just FYI, that is very illegal. You are required to clear off your entire windshield before the vehicle moves. So don't do that. Something I forgot to mention, and maybe Mike mentioned this, and you know this already, but if you have any questions, and I apologize for not saying this earlier, but if you have any questions, please write them down in the comments, and then we'll address those questions at the end of the presentation. So I apologize for not mentioning that earlier. Okay, going back to equipment. Jumper cables, good to have those. A snow shovel. If you get stuck in a snowdrift and you are scraping that snow with your fingers, that's going to suck for you. So a snow shovel is great to have to try and get that snow removed so you can get out of that snowdrift. Blankets, always good to have blankets. I can remember one time there was a snowstorm, and I was responding to anything that was on the side of the freeway. This is out on I-80 at around Saltaire. There was a couple that had broken down, and they were waiting for a tow truck. I pulled up to them to check on them, and they told me what the situation was. And because their vehicle was broken down, they didn't have the engine running, so they couldn't keep warm. So I ran to my car, gave them a couple of blankets that we have. I said, hey, compliments of the highway patrol, keep warm. I got to go to the next crash, but I'll come back and check on you. Luckily, when I came back, the tow truck had showed up, and so it wasn't an issue for them, but they didn't have anything to keep them warm. And so in the middle of the winter time, if you break down, always good to have blankets. A couple of other things, some water, obviously, some non-perishable food, a first aid kit, always good to have, and then extra clothes and gloves. Always good to have extra clothing, extra warm clothing, and some gloves just to keep yourself warm. So we are now prepared. We checked our car. We have good tires. We have windshield wipers that work. We have headlights that are cleaned, and we're ready to go. A full tank of gas. We've already put our provisions in the car. Time to go. So I'm going to show this video, and we're going to figure out how to drive in winter conditions.
Remember that you is slow for ice and snow. The main cause of crashes in the winter is people driving too fast for weather conditions. So slow down. During a storm, stay attentive and reduce your speed. It is your responsibility to maintain control of your vehicle and be aware of what's happening around you. Eliminate all distractions so you can focus on riding safely. Watch for wildlife, as animals can be more active after a storm. Also, do not use cruise control during a storm. When the road surfaces and conditions are constantly changing, you need to be in full control. Be aware of black ice and colder temperatures. Roads that seem dry may be slippery and dangerous. Take it slow when approaching intersections, off-ramps, bridges, or shady areas. These are common places you'll find black ice. Drive under the speed limit if it's wet, snowy, or icy. The posted speed limit is only for dry and field conditions. Accelerate slowly, brake gently, and don't turn too quickly. Poor driving conditions can cause a crash if these rules aren't followed. And remember, four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive can help you maintain traction and get you through heavier patches of snow, but neither will help you if you get to a dangerous slide or skid. Four-wheel drive doesn't mean four-wheel stop. When it's wet, snowy, or icy, you need extra room to stop, so increase your following distance. Snow and slush can form ridges between lanes that can be slippery and cause you to lose control. Avoid these ridges when it's possible. You should always wear a seatbelt. The crash risk increases in bad weather, so buckle up every time. If you find yourself behind a snowplow, stay behind it. The road behind an active snowplow is safer to drive on. Don't assume snowplow drivers can see you. Stay at least 8 car lengths behind the plow and watch for snow discharging debris. If you're in front of a snowplow, don't stop suddenly.
All right, so much information in that video. Let's break it down. The first thing that is suggested is that you slow down. I can't tell you enough how important it is for you to slow down. There's been so many times when I've taken crashes in winter conditions, and I walk up to them and I ask, well, how fast were you going? Well, I was going 70 miles an hour. I mean, the speed limit is 70 miles an hour, so it's okay for me to go that fast. That is not the case. It's the speed limit is the speed limit for ideal conditions. We're talking, dry road conditions. The sun is out, the birds are singing, it's a beautiful day. Those are ideal driving conditions. Once the snow hits, that is no longer an ideal driving condition, ideal road conditions. And so you have got to slow down. Next thing that I would suggest, don't use cruise control. Too many people think, well, if I use cruise control, I don't have to worry about my speed. But the way I see it is when you're using cruise control, you actually forget about your speed. And when you're driving, you really should be focused on your speed to make sure that you're not going too fast. I'm gonna let Mike take care of something quickly here.
I'm just trying to share your audio. You're good. You can keep going.
You can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. See, now you got me all flustered. Now I forgot what I was going to talk about. Eliminating distractions. When you're driving, you should be focused on driving, not just during snowstorms or during less than ideal road conditions, but always, but especially when you're driving on snow. Eliminate the distractions. Make sure that you're focused on the driving, which is what the task at hand is. I talked about snow plows. How many of you get frustrated when you get stuck behind a snow plow and you're not allowed to go as fast as you would like to go? The way I see it is I love getting stuck behind a snow plow, because that more than guarantees, I wouldn't say guarantees, but that gives me a far greater chance of not losing control of my vehicle than if I'm driving ahead of the snow plows. And I just can't understand why people get so upset when they get stuck behind a snow plow. Give those snow plows some space. It was suggested 8 car lengths. That sounds like a good amount of space. Don't go around the snow plows, because they keep one lane open, and a lot of times that snow is going to be kicked out by the snow plow and it's going to hit your car. You could lose control. So just be patient. It sucks that it's snowing, and it sucks that we need to deal with it, but the worst thing you can do is be impatient and make things worse when dealing with the snowplow. A couple of other things that I mentioned. Be prepared for black ice. Black ice is non-discriminatory. Doesn't matter if you're driving a 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, motorcycle. I don't know why anyone would ride a motorcycle in a snowstorm, but black ice does not care what you're driving. It's going to affect vehicles the same way. You're going to lose control, and the faster you're going when you hit black ice, the more dangerous it is. So expect it, be prepared for it, and we'll talk about what to do when you hit black ice and when you start skidding, and how to avoid a skid like that. So in fact, now's a good time to talk about that. Let's talk about how to avoid a skid. When you're driving and you start fishtailing and your vehicle starts going in a certain direction, what do? I can tell you what not to do. I took a crash where a lady lost control of her vehicle in a snowstorm. She hit black ice, and she hit the car in front of her. It was a truck, hit the truck in front of her, which pushed that truck into another vehicle. So we had 3 vehicles that we were dealing with this crash. When I walked up to her and I asked her what happened, she said that she had lost control of her vehicle. She didn't know what to do, and so she pulled the emergency brake. Now, to her defense, it was an emergency, so maybe she thought, I'll just pull the brake and that'll fix everything. Listen, don't pull the emergency brake. I won't even say that's the last thing I want you to do. I don't want you to do that at all. When you pull the emergency brake, all your wheels lock up, and that car is going to go whatever direction it was going, no matter what. So rather than pulling the emergency brake, let's talk about how to, let's see if I can get this now. There we go. Let's talk about what to do when you start losing control of your vehicle.
It's a heart-stopping moment. Has it happened to you yet? If it hasn't, it will. Unless you're prepared. This video will show you how to correct a slide on an icy road, but more importantly, help you avoid one in the first place. This is Dan Robinson with IcyRoadSafety.com. We're going to talk about 3 main points in this video when it comes to dealing with icy road slides. The first one, be aware of the weather conditions in the wintertime. 2, slow down when icy roads are imminent or in progress. And 3, respond appropriately if your vehicle begins to slide. Before we get into correcting a slide, let's talk about how you can avoid one in the first place. Anytime the temperatures are near or below freezing, keep track of the precipitation in your area before you get on the road. There are many apps you can use on your phone to keep track of the weather. If precipitation is in the forecast and the temperatures are below freezing, you can encounter ice at any time. It doesn't take much snow or ice to make roads dangerous. Most fatal icy road crashes occur with very light snow and ice amounts on the roads. When precipitation amounts are light, most drivers tend to be going full speed and are caught off guard by sudden patches of ice. One of the most common places for surprise ice is on bridges and overpasses. A bridge is more exposed to air than the road surface, so it tends to cool much faster than the surrounding pavement. After only an hour, this bridge was completely covered in snow, while the adjacent roads were completely snow-free. When it comes to icy roads, the most important driving technique is very simple. Slow down. If you stay aware of the weather conditions and slow down when icing is expected or in progress, you'll avoid getting into a dangerous slide in the first place. That's always the better outcome. The statistics show that most serious and fatal icy road crashes happen at high speeds, generally above 45 miles an hour. The higher your speed, the more likely you are to lose control, and the more difficult a slide will be to correct successfully. Your speed should never be above 45 miles an hour on icy roads, even on a highway. Some types of road icing are more dangerous and may require even slower speeds. In some cases, it's just a bad idea to be on the road at all. As a general rule, if your car begins to fishtail or slide, it's a sign you're going too fast for the conditions. Before we talk about correcting a slide, let's talk about oversteer and understeer. Both of these conditions can happen on icy roads, but it's oversteer that is the most common cause of crashes at high speeds. Understeer happens when your front wheels lose grip in a turn, causing your car to keep going straight even though your wheels are turned to one side. Oversteer, on the other hand, happens when your rear wheels lose grip with the road. In an oversteer condition, the back end of the car will slide outward opposite the direction of your steering input. Oversteer slides can happen when rounding a curve, turning a corner, or even with a slight steering motion such as changing lanes on a highway. Most fishtailing is an oversteer condition. Slides can also be triggered by braking or accelerating. Both of these are actions that can cause one or more of the vehicle's wheels to lose their grip. Now that we've covered the basics of preventing a slide, let's talk about what to do if one happens. There are 3 points to remember about oversteer slide correction. Number 1, don't use your brakes. Number 2, turn into the slide. And 3, don't panic and don't overcorrect. The first point we're going to cover is don't use your brakes. This is one of the most common mistakes drivers make during a slide on an icy road. Braking can not only trigger a slide, it will make a slide worse. Here's a good example. Watch the brake lights on this car. The car loses complete control almost instantly once the driver hits the brakes. Braking, in this case, caused a total spin out before the driver even had a chance to correct the slide. For slide correction to work, your wheels need to be turning freely. The second point, turn your front wheels in the same direction that the rear of the vehicle is sliding. You've also heard about turning into the slide. These both mean the same thing. For example, if the back of your car slides to the right, turn the wheel to the right. As the car straightens out, straighten the steering wheel. It's helpful to keep your eyes focused on where you want the car to go, that is, on the road ahead. The amount you'll need to turn the wheel is proportional to how far and how fast the back of your car is sliding. A small slide will only require a slight steering motion. What often makes correcting slides so difficult is that once your car begins to respond to you turning the wheel, it will often snap back in the other direction. When you're in the process of correcting a slide in one direction, be prepared for the car to swing back in the opposite direction. This oscillation can happen several times, and you'll need to respond accordingly. Let's take a look at correcting a couple of real-world slides from the driver's view. The steering wheel position is superimposed. Finally, the last point. Don't panic and don't overcorrect. An oversteer slide gives the car angular momentum, which means it will want to keep rotating into a full spin. Overcorrecting will send the car rotating faster than the steering can counter, and the car will spin out. Let's take a look at some real-world examples of accidents and slides, some that were corrected successfully, some that weren't. So let's take a look at this video here. This is a bridge, an interstate bridge, that curves pretty sharply to the left here. This is in Charleston, West Virginia. I want you to notice the car's wheels and which direction the car rotates. So first of all, the car's rounding a curve here, and you can see the back end comes out to the right. Now the driver right here is responding correctly. You see his wheels are turned just a little bit back to the right in the direction that he's sliding. Now I want you to look at how the car responds to him turning the wheel to the right. See, the car comes back, and now it snaps back over to the left. And you can see, again, he's turning his wheel to the left to correct, which is the right move. But then watch what happens. The car slides back out to the right. At this stage, he's overcorrected. It was just a little bit too much, and it sent the back end sliding out to the right. Far to the right. Now once again, turning the wheel to the right, and watch what happens. So there he corrects. See how the car will go back in the opposite direction? So he's turning the wheel back to the left to counter that little slide to the left, but unfortunately in this case it's going to be a little too much. And again, this driver was only going about 55 miles an hour. But you can see how difficult it is. Even if you respond correctly, it's very easy to overcorrect at high speeds. What I'm about to show you here is a very rare event. This is somebody that successfully corrected a slide. So let's watch and see what happens. The guy's going around the curve here, which is curving to the left, which means in most cases an oversteer slide is going to make his car slide out to the right, which is exactly what happens. So let's watch. See right there, back of the car comes around to the right. The driver appropriately steers to the right to counter. And you can see how the car comes back out to the left to respond to that. And he manages to correct it. Now the other thing here, you can see one of the reasons this driver was able to pull this off is he ended up on a section of the road that was actually salted, and there wasn't as much ice right here where he was. So that kind of helped him out there, but you can see that it takes a little bit of luck in addition to the skill. Now this one is going to be an interesting one. This driver, again, going around a right-hand curve, which way do you expect the back end of the car to come out? It's going to be coming out to the left. So right there, back end comes out to the left. You can see the driver responding correctly. He's turning his wheels to the left to counter that slide. And then the back of the car comes back around to the right. He's countering again. Same thing. Now, this is an interesting situation because right ahead of this car is the end of the bridge. So he's on ice right now, but he's about to drive on pavement that's just wet. So his tires are going to grab suddenly and make him swing around to the other direction. This next clip is going to be in an identical time and place. Same situation as the previous vehicle, The driver enters the right-hand turn. The back of the car swings out to the left as it starts to slide. The driver steers just slightly to the left, just enough to get it back in line. The car rebounds a little bit to the right. The driver corrects and actually manages to pull this off. Let's watch it again. Here's yet another example of why you don't want to hit your brakes. I want you to pay attention to the brake lights on this pickup truck. Watch what happens as soon as the brake lights light up. This driver wasn't even in much of a slide until he hit his brakes. The main takeaway from this video is that correcting a slide can be done, but it becomes much more difficult at higher speeds. If you slow down to below 45 miles an hour when icy roads are imminent or in progress, you'll end up with the best possible outcome, avoiding a slide in the first place.
All right. So to sum up, we've all watched Cars from Disney, right? And if you remember the scene where Lightning McQueen is going around that dirt racetrack and trying to turn left, but he's always going too fast, and then Doc tells him to turn right, steer right to turn left. It's the same concept. You turn into the skid to get out of the skid. The three things to remember: don't brake, turn into the skid, and then don't panic. All right. So we were in a crash. Unfortunately, we maybe didn't do what we were supposed to do, and now we were involved in a crash. So what do you do after the crash? Watch this video and then we'll talk about it.
If you're involved in a crash during winter or any other time, follow these simple steps. If possible, pull over to the right shoulder or exit the freeway. Stay in your car. Call 911. Follow the instructions given by the operator, and remember to always keep your seatbelt on. This pileup on the interstate started with a single driver being stuck on the side of the road in the snow. The driver unbuckled and called Utah Highway Patrol for help. The dispatcher told him to put his seatbelt back on while he waited for an officer to arrive. He buckled up, and his car was then struck several times by other drivers who had lost control. He was pretty banged up afterwards, but he was grateful that he put his seatbelt back on, as things could have ended very differently if he hadn't. Being involved in a crash can be a difficult experience, but following these previous steps can keep you safe and get you help as quickly as possible.
All right, what do you do after a crash? Stay in the vehicle. I always say that you have this big hunk of metal, which is what your vehicle is, protecting you from all these other big hunks of metal, which are other cars coming straight at you. So stay in your vehicle. Keep your seatbelt on. If you get hit and you don't have your seatbelt on, you're going to go straight for the windshield, straight for the steering wheel. That's going to be some serious injuries for you. If you can move off, we want you to move off. People will say, well, if I move off, then I'm leaving the scene of a crash. Well, that's not the case. I mean, if we're telling you to move off, we promise we won't cite you for leaving the scene of a crash. And it's safer for you to move it off, safer for us to investigate the crash once the crash has been moved off. I guarantee we're not going to lose any evidence that's up there on the freeway. We're pretty smart people. We're professionals. We know what we're doing. It's not difficult for us to tell what happened when we look at the damage of the vehicle. So please stay in your vehicle, put your seatbelt on. If you can move off, and then call 911. Or if you can't move off, call 911 and we'll come and help you out. Okay, one last thing that I want to talk about, the move over law. This is kind of a serious one for us in the Highway Patrol. Having been hit twice in my career, I'm very passionate about the move over law. And it's basically that you are required to move over one lane if you see emergency vehicle lights on the shoulder, or even if we're taking a lane, you're required to move over one lane if you're able to do so. So let's watch this video. We'll talk about it and then we'll wrap it up. No. Sorry, move over, Law.
When you're driving on the freeway and approach stationary emergency vehicles, highway maintenance vehicles, or towing vehicles with flashing lights, the move over law requires you to slow down and move over one lane when possible. Here's exactly what you should do in this situation. Slow down as soon as you see the flashing emergency lights, but do not brake suddenly. If the road is wet or icy, you could slide out of control. Move over if you can safely do so. If you cannot move over a whole lane, don't panic. Keep your speed slow and move over as much as you can. Look where you want to go. You may be curious, but do not focus on the vehicles or emergency lights on the shoulder. This can cause you to veer towards where you're looking. Keep your focus on the road and the path you want to follow ahead of you. Injuries to emergency and maintenance workers on the freeway are preventable. Please slow down and give them room.
So his last statement was injuries to troopers and other people on the roadways are preventable. That's 100% accurate. If you are slowing your speeds down, hopefully you're going slow to begin with. And as soon as you see those red and blue lights, if you slow further down, you start making your lane change over, you're going to be preventing collisions with us. And really, it's a bad day to get into a collision, period. Even worse when you hit a trooper. So just be safe when it comes to that, when it comes to the move over law. All right. To show you this video, this is Levi Windward. He's a trooper up in Box Elder County. He's responding to a crash. You can see that the road conditions are snowy. He's going slow enough to make sure that he gets there safely. I'm going to fast forward it a bit and see what happens. He continues to respond. Up here is where the crash is. You can see where the crash is. He's slowing down. And watch what happens. Obviously, the person behind him was not slowing down. And there's that troop. See that troop off to the side? Now he has to run away to try and avoid getting hit. And watch to the side here. So had that troop not moved, I guarantee he would have been hit by that semi truck. We got to slow down. We got to slow down. We got to be aware of our surroundings, aware of our conditions, and make sure that where we're going, we get there safely and don't cause any issues like that. Another one.
I'm going to be flying over to Mascot, California. So
It's Trooper Rugg. He is a trooper here in Salt Lake County.
Trooper, I think a Tango unit just took a crash to that game. Tango unit, can you advise?
Watch how far his patrol car goes. Keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, until it gets all the way to the left-hand concrete barrier. Crosses all those lanes. This is his body cam. And Trooper Rugg is smart enough to be watching traffic coming at him, and we're trained to do that just in case we have to jump over the concrete barrier to avoid a collision. I can't count how many times I've had to do that in my career, where I'm watching traffic, somebody loses control, and I have to jump over to avoid getting hit. This is Trooper Coy. He's also a trooper here in Salt Lake County.
I just got hit.
You know what? That one didn't show, but he got hit as well. I'll just spoiler alert. He got hit as well. All right. I want to finish up with this video here. Let me pause this. This is Sergeant Cade Brenchley. Cade is a sergeant up in Box Elder County. This is in Sardine Canyon a few years ago. You can see the road conditions. He stops on a crash, and watch what happens.
These photos and videos all represent 100% preventable crashes. Vehicles entered the crash scene at speeds unsafe for conditions and crashed into our troopers, resulting in injuries. As a driver, you play an important role in preventing these crashes. When you approach any emergency vehicle on the shoulder, slow down and move over.
Okay, I'm going to show that one more time. Watch how far he gets the drone, and then hitting that car. I'm happy to say that Cade made a full recovery, but he spent some time in the hospital, spent some time at home recovering from that crash. And we all know from this presentation that that is preventable. What went wrong? The driver didn't slow down. The driver was not prepared for the winter conditions that were there. He didn't move over when approaching an emergency vehicle. I can't tell you enough how important it is for you to be prepared, know what's going to be happening before you leave, drive in a way to where you prevent collisions, slow your speeds down, increase your following distance. Don't be in such a rush to get to where you're going. When the snow flies, give yourself extra time just so you can go slow enough and you get to where you're going safely and you're not rushing your drive. If you do get into a crash, we know what to do. Stay in your vehicle, get off the freeway if you can do so, call 911, keep your seatbelt on, and get to where you're going safely. My hope with this presentation is that you'll learn something new, and this winter time, you don't get yourself in any trouble and you don't get yourself in any crashes, because if they are preventable, then let's prevent them. And that should do it. Mike, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. So our first question we actually have is, are there any examples of exceptions to remaining in your vehicle after a crash or a wreck? And this could be a two-pronged question. They also said their black ice wreck ended up in a ditch upside down and what to do when flipped. Okay.
So that's a great question. Any exceptions when to stay in your vehicle? And of course, there's going to be exceptions always, right? And be aware of your traffic coming at you. Use your rear view mirror and be aware of traffic coming at you. And if you need an escape route, make that plan before you need to get out. And so if you see a semi coming down at you, know what you're going to do. Get out, get to the nearest concrete barrier, jump over it like you saw with the trooper. So sure, there's going to be exceptions, as there are exceptions to everything. But 99% of the time, we want you to stay in the vehicle because that's where you're going to be safe. Are there exceptions? Absolutely. That's a great question. And then what was the other question about the ditch?
So they ended up in an accident basically where they were flipped over. In that situation, what do you advise them to do?
Flipped over in a ditch, and hopefully you had your seatbelt on, right? I'm going to assume that you did. In a ditch, luckily you don't have traffic coming at you. I mean, I guess that's a good part about it. If you can safely undo your seatbelt and crawl out, that's what I would suggest you do. If not, call 911. If you're going off in a ditch where there's snow, we're going to see those tracks, and we're going to know that something happened. I have a trooper, a good friend of mine, who actually saved a couple of lives up Parley's Canyon. We got a call of a vehicle that was driving down Parley's Canyon. In their rearview mirror, they saw headlights that were swerving. Then all of a sudden, the headlights disappeared. This buddy of mine, he goes up Parley's Canyon, and he slowly drove the shoulder, thinking if they went over the barrier, over the embankment down into the ravine, that's going to be a bad day for him. He saw those tracks going down. He got out. He looked down. Was actually able to save both their lives because it was a cold winter night. There's no way that anyone would have found him until it was too late. And so if you can get out safely, under your seatbelt, call 911. We'll get there to help you out. It's a good question. What else, Mike? Anything else?
Yep. So I have another one. They basically just want like a comparison of what to do with different vehicle types, such as rear wheel, front wheel, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, And they're wondering also about chains versus studded tires.
Okay, good question. So like I said earlier, whether it's four-wheel, rear wheel, forward or front wheel, again, Black Ice doesn't discriminate. And it really doesn't matter what kind of vehicle you have, whether it's rear wheel, four wheel, or front wheel, as long as you're going slow enough, no matter what it is, you're going to be able to maintain contraction. You're going to be able to maintain traction on the road. I think the concern is what to do if you start sliding and you have rear wheel or front wheel. And it's going to be the same concept that we saw in the video. You're going to turn left to go right, regardless of the type of regardless of what type of vehicle you have, forward wheel, rear wheel, or four-wheel drive. Chains versus studded tires. Chains are not always required. The only time that you're required to have chains is when it's posted, and it's usually when you're going up a canyon. So Parley's Canyon, Little Cottonwood Canyon, Big Cottonwood Canyon. And so those are the only times where chains are required. And as soon as you get up there, and once the chain law has been removed, you are required to remove the chains. They're only designed to get you up the hill. Once you're there, once you get down safely, take them off, because the chains do far more damage to the roads than is necessary. As far as studded tires go, if you don't want to bother with chains, you can usually use those studded tires. Be aware those do a little damage to the road, but not enough to where it's going to be a concern. So if it were me, I would probably get studded tires. That's a good question as well.
All right, and I do have another one for you. So with like different vehicles, like newer models and such, they have different drive settings, such as winter setting, normal, and smart drive. Does winter drive setting help at all, or should you just stay in normal or smart drive?
I love that question, because winter driving setting gives you this false sense of security. If hopefully you understand what I mean by that. I would not use winter driving setting, and here's why. You have all control of your vehicle at all times without it. You know what to do now. You know how to prevent not a collision, but you know how to prevent from sliding. You know that if you do slide, what to do. And so in my opinion, I would just want to have 100% full control of my vehicle. And so I wouldn't use the winter setting. I've noticed that technology is great, but it kind of makes us less responsible for our own driving, which is kind of frustrating. We got these autonomous vehicles that drive their own, and if they get in a crash, well, it's not my fault, it's the car's fault. I don't know if I don't agree with that though, because we are the ones behind the wheel. We have control of that vehicle at all times. And so if it were me, I wouldn't use that winter driving setting. I would just have full control of the vehicle, so that what I do, I control where the vehicle goes. Another good question.
All right, looks like that's all the questions we have for now. So thank you very much, Lawrence. We appreciate all the information you've given.
You got it. Thank you.
Yep, I'm going to turn over to John.
Okay, well, thank you, Sergeant Lawrence Hopper. I will say watching all those winter driving videos gives me anxiety, and I'm not looking forward to tomorrow's storm, but with the sage advice from Sergeant Hopper, I'm going to make sure my gas tank is full today. I'm going to check my tires and make sure they I cannot see Abraham Lincoln when I do the penny test. I'm going to check my headlights. I'm going to clean my headlights. I'm going to make sure I have a flashlight in my car, an ice scraper, a shovel, a blanket. And then if for some reason I do become stranded on the side of the road, I'm going to dial 911 immediately. So again, thank you, Sergeant Hopper. Some great information there. And just want to encourage everybody to slow down tomorrow and all the time, especially in winter driving conditions. So, okay, moving on to some very exciting updates at the Utah Safety Council. In the chat, I just posted a website to the newly launched Utah Safety Council podcast called Speaking Up for Safety. We have 4 episodes that we've put out there. We've been working in conjunction with the Utah Labor Commission. Our first interview was with Sergeant Lawrence Hopper. So I would maybe suggest starting with that one and working your way through the other 3. But we're very excited to be doing this podcast. The plan is to get a couple a month out there, and we will interview prominent and important people in the safety industry that speak up for safety and have vital information to give us. So check out the website. There's also links there where you can listen to the website on your favorite podcast listening platform like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So we encourage you to check it out, support it, and if you have any ideas on members or guests that you would like to hear on the podcast or see, please shoot us a note. We would love to have your feedback. Wanted to point out that our occupational safety essentials class is, we've got a lot of great reception from member companies on that. To remind you, this is a free class, member benefit class. It's an all-day class. We provide you lunch, breakfast, coffee, everything to make you comfortable as you learn everything or get a very good introduction with everything you would need to know to run a successful safety program in your workplace. So we encourage you to check it out. The next one is next week, November 9th, start at 8 o'clock. We'll conclude at 4 o'clock, and those classes are free. I know that we'll have Annabelle and Hannah mention it as we get to them, but just wanted to point it out. And please reach out if you're not registered and you want to go. We have spots available next week, and then that's the class we'll do every month. So I wanted to also highlight the Wish Award ceremony that'll take place December 16th. Brandy, she'll give us the details, but we have winner of the Wish Award has been selected, and we're in the process of contacting her, and we'll open up registration and get people out there December 16th at the University of Utah's Alumni House. And this is a great event. It's one of our most favorite events of the year, as we honor the recipient of the Wish Award, the Women in Safety and Health Award. So December 16th, mark your calendar. We're going to have a fantastic lunch, a fantastic evening, a great keynote speaker. So we encourage you to check it out. We'll have information on our website here shortly. I know we're also, we have a member event that we're just kind of doing impromptu, and it's brewing, and I'll let Brandy kind of give the details, but I will say Santa Claus may or may not be involved. So I think the kids still like Santa, and anyway, we'll let Brandy talk about that. And then we are knee deep in conference planning for 2023. Now, that's going to happen March 16th and 17th at the University of Utah Rice-Eccles Stadium. We're soliciting for sponsors and speakers, and registration should open up here this week. It's an in-person conference there at the University of Utah. We'll also be streaming some of it, but we're very excited to be back live in person as we kick off the conference, the Utah Safety Conference, March 16th and 17th, 2023. So look for more details in your emails from us on our website, utahsafetycouncil.org. So far, we've got a very exciting lineup, and we're very excited to start announcing who our speakers will be and what the agenda is. Okay, well, that's all I have. So I am going to turn it over to Hannah and Annabelle to give us an update on our occupational, refinery, and mining programs. Thank you.
Hello, you guys. Just a few things about our department that have been happening recently. We've just got a few updates. When it comes to BOP, same schedule. We've got the UITC Basic Orientation Plus. If you're needing something with oil refineries, those are good to go. Just going to our main website with most of these classes. Just go onto that calendar that's on the right-hand side. Once you click on the calendar, you should be able to find which classes you're trying to sign up for, as well as if you're needing something with the computer lab, when it comes to refreshers that are yearly, anything that's site specific. There's just hundreds of courses that you can take through the computer lab, and a lot that are related to refinery. So those are the main ones. Those are appointment based, but honestly, if you're also needing if you don't need something pre-scheduled, need something more customized to your company, we also do on-site through BOP as well. We're able to process those. So that's another option for if you're needing to crank out a whole bunch of BOPs and you're in the area, we can get that going. Other than that, our next department, we've got, let's see, MSHA, the MSHA refreshers, those are every Monday. If you're needing to stick somebody into the MSHA refreshers, once again, main website, go to that calendar. You should be good to go for those. As well as new minor. Those are about once every 2 weeks. So they're pretty constant. We're trying to keep the pulse, especially now that things are speeding up with MSHA and the mining. We're trying to make it so that we can add classes if we're seeing they're filling up. So if yours is filling up, don't worry. A lot of times we are just making populating another class real quick as the need is there. And then the next underground will be in December. So we don't have one this month. There will be in December. But once again, especially with MSHA, it's a very popular one to have on sites for. And we can customize. We can do different days. We can do it different times. There's a lot of ways we can adjust it to your guys' schedule and your site. And then the Introduction to Work Environment Tour, those are always on Saturdays. Usually we can do it as an on-site as well. So you can ask about those if you're needing it sooner, maybe to start work at a certain time, but you can take the Introduction to Work Environment Tour before or after the class. It doesn't have to be right after the class. There are options for that. So yeah, feel free to ask our department about on-sites if you're needing something different than what's on that schedule. Other than that, next slide, we've got the Advanced Safety Certificate and the Certificate in OSHA Compliance. So these classes are coming up for this month and next. It's definitely something you guys might consider as well. When it comes to these two classes, it's definitely something that's kind of cool if you're in a situation where your company is already trying to invest in you, your company is already putting in time for your trainings when it comes to safety training for your locations. A way to certify and show that you have knowledge and experience in safety is the Advanced Safety Certificate or the Certificate in OSHA Compliance. And if you have an interest in that, Hannah's done a really cool thing where she's packaged those so that it's faster to get them done. It's also cheaper. So there's a lot of discounts related to doing the Advanced Safety Certificate. And there's also a lot of opportunities when it comes to getting, taking off less time from work, having it less spread out, just really kind of cranking it out and getting that certification. It's a really cool thing to have. And then just keeping in mind the OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 cards, those are for life. And that's a member benefit. If your company's a member and you haven't used your OSHA 10 yet, that's also free for you. So just another option for you as well. But yeah, OSHA 10 and OSHA 30s for life, the Certificate in OSHA Compliance and Advanced Safety are just two really cool options we have. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us. My contact information is over here. And then Hannah's as well should be located somewhere else, but feel free to call us. My extension is 304. Other than that, we do have the Occupational Safety Essentials class that's coming up. And that, once again, like John said, it's a really cool one to just kind of get a general feel of all aspects of safety, kind of a safety 101 class. It's free in person and it's really cool. We've updated it. We've made it really interactive and you should be able to really apply it to what you're doing in your work and what's going on when it comes to safety where you're at. So that's a great one. Train the Trainer forklift is coming up, as well as OSHA machine guarding. So other than that, I think the main things we have are the next slide we have is advanced safety. Already touched that. It's going to be a great one to consider. After that, we've got in our next slide, I think, yes, the scholarship. So if you are interested in advanced safety certificate or OSHA compliance, it's really cool. We have a little mini graduation for you, and you get a trophy. It's the real deal, and it's something you can put on your resume to show your knowledge. But if you are in a situation where your company's under 250 employees, or the branch of your company's under 250 employees, if you fill out a workplace safety scholarship, or you can type that in, we can email it to you. We have paper copies here. If you type in scholarship into our website, it will populate an easily editable form. That'll get you half off immediately. I can process that scholarship immediately and get you half off for any of those classes. So a really cool opportunity as well to consider. Other than that, I think those are the main things with our department. We're just excited to, we're trying to move things as much web-based as possible so we can reach a wider scope and so that you can be taking our courses from wherever you're at. But honestly, I think our main things coming up is we have OSHA. We're going to be getting online as well, and just trying to make more classes for you guys. So let us know the kind of things you're interested in. Other than that, I think we're leading off to our next department, which is Stone with defensive driving.
Hello, everybody. So for defensive driving in the month of November, what we have is a bunch of different class options here. These are typically the options if you're looking to send maybe 1 or 2 people through. However, if you're looking for something more with a lot of people involved, then what you can do is you can contact me with my information there over on the right-hand side of your screen, and we can always set up an on-site for you. You're just gonna have to contact me about pricing. And as a reminder that this class is always offered online as well. So if you need to just maybe get some points off your record, then you can just hop on, do the fully online course. It's not something you have to schedule out with anybody. But as far as the availability, I'll just go one by one here. So on November 5th, we do have one down here at our Salt Lake location from 8 a.m. to noon. So that'll be a Saturday morning class. And then after that, we have one on November 7th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So that'll be later in the day. Following that, we have one on November 17th, which takes place actually on a Thursday. So that'll be a Thursday morning class. And then we have one on November 19th, which will be our final one for the month here in Salt Lake from 8 a.m. till noon. And that one is also hybrid, which basically means that you can attend it over Zoom if that's something that interests you. As far as Logan, we do have one just coming up here on this Saturday on November 5th from 8 a.m. till noon. For our Layton location, we have 2 different availabilities. We have one on November 8th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And that will take place just at the Davis Weber campus, and that'll be on a Tuesday. And then we have our final one for our Layton location, also on that November 19th from 8 a.m. to noon. We have one in Lehigh on November 16th from 5:30 to 9:30 p.m., which is at the UVU Thanksgiving Point campus. And that is also going to be a night class on a Wednesday. And as far as Washington, Utah is concerned, we have one on November 19th from 8 a.m. to noon. And then we have one in Vernal, also on November 19th from 8 a.m. till noon. And next slide, because I'm also filling in for Brandon at our emergency care program. So we do have a first aid, CPR, and AED course, which is a member benefit on November 10th. And then after that, we don't have one for a little bit of time. It looks like our next instructor development course will take place in December, from December 7th to December 9th. And there is on-sites available and a bilingual trainer upon request. If you want to contact Brandon about that, his information is over on the right-hand side of your screen. And then I believe there's one more slide just about our different emergency care products and services. So if you're looking for training material rental or anything for sale or first aid kits, then you're going to also want to contact Brandon about that to get pricing and work everything out as far as that's concerned. But that should do it for me. Next, I'm turning it over to Nicole for a computer lab update.
Hello, I'm Nicole. I'm a program administrator here at Utah Safety Council. Justin, Ward, and I both maintain our computer lab where we offer hundreds of different web-based trainings. So if you're looking for a web-based option for one of your trainings, go ahead and reach out to us and we'll see if we can get it to stream to this location. Our most popular course in the computer lab would be our basic orientation plus refresher. And we do those daily starting at 8:30. We're also going to be the first people you see when you come into the office. If you need to inquire about any of those trainings, our information is down below. Now you'll hear from Brandy regarding some membership benefits.
Okay, hello. Thanks for sticking with us. I just have a few updates as far as your membership goes. So I know most of you are members with the Safety Council. And so I just want to remind you of your benefits. If you can go to the next slide so that we can see those. Yep, perfect. One of the big reasons that people join is the streaming safety videos. So we stream hundreds of those and you can use those in your safety training, in safety meetings, and all kinds of ways to use those. They're not just videos. It comes with some supplemental materials as well, like PowerPoints and quizzes and things like that. So that is free with your membership, and it's available to as many people in your organization as you'd like to have a login. So reach out to me, email us at safety@utahsafetycouncil.org if you want to add anybody to that or get access. And then your free courses. We'll talk a little bit more about them, but some of the other program managers have highlighted some free courses, but you get free courses every year, and more depending on your level of membership. And so just to make sure that you're using those, and if it's not for you, make sure it's someone else in your department or in your organization. It doesn't have to be the main member contact. It could be anybody. Membership appreciation events. We'll talk a little bit in a second about our next one. And you can kind of see some of those benefits listed there, but membership with Utah Safety Council is as good as what you put into it, right? So we have a lot of things available to you, and we encourage you to utilize everything to maximize your benefits. So again, if you have any questions, just reach out. And my name's Brandy. Obviously, I'll be here. So next slide, maybe just a little bit more about some of the courses. We talked about that free course, the first aid and CPR on November 10th. One thing that's not in this slide, we are doing an OSHA 10 this week. So our next one, it's an OSHA 10 general industry, is December 5th and 6th. And that is a member benefit course. And discounted if you want to send additional people to that class as well. So if you have a couple of people that you want to get through that, you can do that very affordably. And we'll also we're hoping to get our new dates for 2023 up in the next, during this month. So we'll have all those training dates available as well. So make sure you watch with that. And we've mentioned it, everybody's mentioned it, but it is one of those cool courses, the Occupational Safety Essentials. November 9th, December 12th, we do still have room in both of those classes. And to make that free for you, you do use that code Essentials 2020 at checkout. So make sure to make a note of that, because we'd love to see you in the classes there. Next up, John mentioned it a little bit, but the WISH Award event. It is the Women in Safety program, and it is the biggest event for this group. And it's super fun. We're going to have a great speaker, Tammy Sloan. She's going to join us and talk about her, how her background, and it'll be very inspirational, and it'll be great to hear from her. And then we will nominate the WISH Award recipient. So that's exciting. Put that on your radar. We should have registration open this week, so you should get an email about that. And we're really looking forward to that as well. The conference, again, the 16th and 17th. So please put it in your budgets and on your calendar. And we want to open registration for that this month as well. So like John said, we're recruiting speakers and sponsors. So if you're interested in or exhibitors, if you're interested in any of those things, please let us know, because we'd love to partner with you on that. And it is going to be an in-person event. So at the University of Utah. So that'll be fun. The next upcoming webinars that we have listed are December 1st. So it's the same thing, Start with Safety, and it's on National Miners Day. And so I don't want that to scare you away if you're not in the mining industry, because we did something similar to this last year and it was super interesting. So you learn about all of the mines throughout the state. We have so many, and there's so many safety concerns and just interesting things that you'll learn about if you attend that. So make sure to go to our website and sign up for the December 1st Start with Safety as well. And then we have another one coming up on January 4th next year, always at this same time. I don't have a slide on this because it's kind of new details coming out, but John mentioned we are going to do a member event on December 9th. And the plan is to have Santa there, and it's going to be a great event for your family, to bring your family. The kids will get to see Santa. You get a free picture. So if you're a parent and you've ever had to, buy one of those pictures at the mall, they can get very expensive. So it'll be fun. Make sure you mark your calendars, bring your family. There'll be Santa, an activity, some yummy food, and it'll be a really good time. So hopefully that you will get that in the next week as well. So watch for that, mark your calendar. And that's pretty much all we have for you today. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for joining us for this Start with Safety. And we're looking forward to seeing you at a next event or another training before the end of the year. And with that, I just want to say thank you and reminder to stay safe. We'll see you next time.